Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and this week I'm bringing to you a brief little episode of the Talking Hip Hop Show. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate all the love you guys showed on the YouTube upload. This is the week we're definitely going up to YouTube, so everyone who tuned in, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot, guys, for real. Appreciate y'all. If we could get 3 likes on the next YouTube video, I'll continue to upload the podcast to YouTube weekly. And because I'm uploading to YouTube, I'm not going to probably do as much music roundups. If you guys like that, though, let me know, because I could keep doing it. But this week I decided to bring something a little different. We're going to be talking about trap music in the 2020s decade. Because trap music has really been the predominant form of hip-hop in the mainstream, right, for the last probably close to 10 years, right? You know, it's been the trap music we know today, at least, has been bubbling around since the 2012, or since around 2012. And of course before that we did have the likes of T.I., Jeezy, and all those legends, but that was still trap music, but trap music wasn't the predominant thing in hip-hop at that point, right? Jay-Z was still huge, and there's kind of this transition phase where we do get to the trap takeover, and it starts in the early 2010s. 2016 is really the peak, or almost the peak, coinciding with all the auto crooning stuff from SoundCloud. And I would say 2019, maybe 2018 is really the peak for trap music. You know, you had Drake's Scorpion come out in 2018 with some trap bangers like Nice for What, like God's Plan, like In My Feelings, Trap Money, Henny. Anyways, the popularity for trap music and hip-hop as a whole in the mainstream has kind of petered out. So I just wanted to talk about that today. I got really bad handwriting, first of all. So my YouTube viewers, I really should type this script out. I don't go with scripts a lot for the podcast, but I just wanted to bring in some facts. So 2022, in my opinion, is the start of the fall off. Now, in terms of trap songs that went top 10 on the Billboard 100, there were 28 with 4 number ones. Traditional trap, at least. I try to, some songs were hard to tell, and that'll come later on with a song like Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar, which I did not score as a traditional trap song, right? But it's kind of up for interpretations with stuff like that, but you get the point. So you had major quality albums come out in the trap space, like Her Loss by Drake and 21 Savage, which sold 404,000, and Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin, which is also a great trap album, one of the best of the decade, and sold 185,000. It is important to note as well, Heroes and Villains has been one of the most popular albums streaming-wise of this year so far, too. The album has had some serious staying power, right? And so pretty much what I'll be going through, I should say, is some of the top 10 selling albums in hip-hop of the last few years, talking about the trap albums, at least, how they sold, how it changes over the time, and also talking about the quality as well, right? And I think we'll come to discover that with kind of following the trends for rap currently, because rap, mainstream-wise, is very much and I talk about this a lot on my channel. That's why I wanted to make a dedicated podcast episode to it, talking about it in terms of trap. But hip-hop is more, not watered down than ever, but it's more like, it's bigger than ever, so there's more rappers than ever, so there's more niche fan bases than ever, which means there's the least amount of superstar rappers that there's ever been, which that's a whole different topic I'm going to get to in a couple of weeks in a video. I'm excited to talk about that one, right? But so I'm going to talk about how essentially this affects trap music, and trap music is kind of thinned out in popularity, leading to their only being leading to there only being so many people who could bridge the super popular gap with the super quality music gap, right? Which has always been a hard thing to carry. But going from 2022 to 2024, I will say the main thing that has changed is the amount of quality in trap. There's a lot more low-key quality trap albums than there were a few years ago. You know what I mean? It's almost like the more quality in the underground to mid-card of rap than there is in the mainstream, where there was a lot more mainstream stuff in general in 2022 to now there's less mainstream, but there's more quality scattered throughout. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it thins out, right? So, anyways, we also had some mainstream mid albums that came out all across the board that were very successful. It's Only Me by Lil Baby sold 216,000. Lil Baby is still recovering from this quality-wise massive flop. That's coming from someone who is a huge Lil Baby fan. But I'm very excited for his new album. The singles he dropped have been good enough. I'm interested to see where he goes with it. I Never Liked You by Future sold 222,000, which personally I didn't like this album either. It's a 5 to me. There's not a lot of tracks I come back to. It was one of Future's more phoned-in projects. Now again, in 2024, he recovered from this massively to have one of the biggest years of his career, and we'll talk about that later because Future really carried. Listen, my subheading for 2024 is Would Be Dead If It Wasn't for Pluto. Okay? We also had DS Forever, sold 150,000. This is one of Gunna's best albums, but this still isn't like a super high quality. Like, this is an all-time great trap album. Her Loss and Heroes and Villains are the two really only trap album of the decade contenders from this year, right? And then you also had 7,2200, which sold 120,000. This is Lil Durk's album. This had the Oh My God, What Happened to Virgil song. Lil Durk's always a mid-rapper to me. So this album also not that good, but it was popular, right? There was a lot of very popular mainstream trap albums this year. Some low-key sleepers that came out this year as well were Traumazine by Megan Thee Stallion and Only Built for Infinity Links by Quavo and Takeoff. Rest in peace, Takeoff. Two of the better trap albums to come out this year. Not the biggest releases. Both sold less than 100,000 first week. And we also had a lot of forgettable but kind of successful trap albums. Baby on Baby 2 was not successful, but Come Home The Kids Miss You by Jack Harlow was a miss. Beautiful Mind by Rod Wave, also a miss for me. Rod Wave is kind of an anomaly in this space also because he kind of drops an album every year and sees a lot of success with it. Like a surprising amount, because I don't think Rod Wave is anything special. I think he's a pretty mid artist. He makes fine music. Nothing good, nothing bad, nothing that ever rocks the boat quality-wise. But he is prolific in his sales numbers, and you'll see that. Now, 2023, the quality of trap increases, but the sales kind of decrease. So, in terms of top 10s in the trap space, there are only 18 now, which is 10 less than last year, and 3 number ones. So not as dominant. And part of this also comes with a shift away from traditional trap music. That is also another theme you'll see here, right? Because this year, the two biggest selling albums in the hip-hop space were Utopia with 496,000 and 402,000. I think I've been forgetting to say the 100,000. I've just been saying 1,000, so I apologize that. But so Utopia, I never consider this album a trap album. There are trap songs. There's a rage song on there like Fiend, and there's some trap aesthetics borrowed throughout the entire album. One of the only true trap songs on there is I Know, but you have a boom bap, industrial boom bap at that intro with Hyena. You have a lot more progressive instrumentals which borrow from the trap space, maybe on a song like Till Further Notice, but I don't know if you could quite put it there. Same with Telekinesis, which is a lot slower. You have Love with Kid Cudi, which is in a space of its own. Same with the Beyonce track. So I'm not quite calling Utopia a trap album. I don't know if it quite checks all the boxes, to be honest. And then For All the Dogs is the same thing, where there are tracks where it borrows the trap aesthetics, like shitty songs like Fear of Heights, like Daylight. First Person Shooter is even kind of in that bag. You have the Yeet Assisted, I Don't Give a Fuck. But you also have kind of random tracks like Rich Baby Daddy, which is not quite trap. Gently, which is in that Latin trap space. You have the R&B cuts like Slime You Out, Bahamas Promises, Virginia Beach. And you also have 8 a.m. in Charlotte, which is pure boom bap, rapidy rap from Drake. So again, I don't know if I'd quite call this trap. And the trap that is here, For All the Dogs was bad. For All the Dogs was a mess. If you want to see me talk about Utopia or For All the Dogs, goddamn, I hope you can't hear these fucking geese right now. Holy shit. I should have closed my window before this started. But anyways, if you want some in-depth on Utopia or For All the Dogs from me, I have 30-minute reviews of both, getting deep into them, into the concepts, into the consistencies, all that. And I would heavily recommend you check those out. I'm not going to lie, some of my best work ever. But yeah, these two albums, not quite trap. The Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert, 167,000 first week, which is a lot better. That's over 100,000 more than EA2, because EA2 was a flop. But EA2 was a lot more based in the trap rage. And Pink Tape, again, we can talk about this. It kind of had a couple different vibes going from Uzi. You had the traditional trap songs like not Suicide Doors, Flooded the Face, Spinning an A, Nakamura, Days Come and Go, Pluto to Mars. You had the, standard Lil Uzi, syrupy, auto-tuned trap bangers here. Then you had the rage hitters like Suicide Doors, Crush 'Em, Amped, 2 times. Them playing to the new soundscape of music, the new landscape of music to the younger generation. You also had Just Wanna Rock, which had the Jersey Club instrumental. And you also had the whole entire, heavy metal section of this with, Days Come and Go, Rehab, the End, Fire Alarm, the Chop Suey cover that they did. And then Fire Alarm as well. I love Fire Alarm. And then Patience with Don Toliver, which again is just, it borrows the trap aesthetics, but really just in a bag of its own. So, Pink Tape sells really well, is a good album. Another album that I have a review for if you want to check it, but is not quite in the trap space, where again, albums like Her Loss, Heroes and Villains, It's Only May, DS Forever, 77,000, 2,200. Everything I talked about from 2022, except for I Never Liked You, which had a few R&B cuts, and Her Loss, I guess, did too. I wouldn't say, whatever. It was in very traditional mainstream trap landscape, but here we see some of the biggest artists moving away from it. And then you had, of course, more underwhelming albums that were maybe like Nostalgia by Rod Wave, 137,000, was that more or less than he sold last year? It was more than he sold last year. I don't have the numbers for A Beautiful Mind up, but I know that was more. And Pink Friday 2, which also sold 167,000, which again, I'm not going to pull up the track list because I haven't listened to this album since last year, but I know damn well it's not entirely in the trap landscape. You have trap bangers on there, but you also have some more rap cuts or some more boom bap cuts, whatever, however else you want to categorize it. Then what else do we got here? Now we have some more traditional trap albums that sold very well. Business is Business with 89,000. I thought that album was great by Young Thug. Honestly, a super underrated album in my opinion. I think it's maybe a top 5 Thug album. I think it's super overlooked. Then you also had A Gift and a Curse with 85,000, which I didn't think this is definitely traditional trap. I didn't think it was great, but I know a lot of people thought this album was great. I know a lot of people love this album. I think it's definitely one of Gunna's best. I think it's one of his least boring albums. I think it's one of his more interesting. It does have a very interesting soundscape, because even though it's very traditional trap, Gunna's pushing his vocals further than ever. He's coming through on some instrumentals that are a little different than a lot of stuff he's done throughout his career, but it's still traditional, very much in the mainstream trap bag. And I will say, again, Nostalgia by Rod Wave, Business is Business, and A Gift and a Curse all have reviews on this channel, or on my channel, I guess, because this is going on the audio too. So I guess this is a good time to mention, go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe to Talking Hip Hop, go over to Instagram, follow Talking.hiphop, daily content posted there, weekly content on the YouTube, and weekly pods on the Spotify and YouTube, of course, as well. We also had Almost Healed by Lil Durk, which again, very traditional trap album, very much in the style that he always does. 125,000, which is more than his album 7,220, which surprised me honestly because I thought that album was bigger. I guess I was wrong. Almost Healed was also not good. So in terms of the mainstream albums, we got some quality with a few great and a few bad. And the sales kind of fell off a little bit, other than the For All the Dogs and Utopia Juggernauts, which again I wouldn't even qualify as trap albums really. We're seeing the fall off sales wise. Now that could just be in the sense of hip hop in general, but that's what's mainstream right now, you know. Because when you look at an artist like Denzel Curry, like, he isn't as affected by the hip-hop sales fall off. I think he's probably selling more than ever, even though he continues to sell between that probably 20 to 30K area, right? He has his fan base on lock. Now, we also have way more quality sleepers this year, and this is something that really surprised me. Something that really surprised me when I was going and looking back at it. I was like, wow. We had Rocket Power by Quavo, which is Quavo's best solo album. Which again, also kind of pushed, like, it was very traditional trap, pushed the boundaries a little bit in terms of the spacey aesthetic and instrumentals he brought to it. He was rapping more than ever in his whole career. Set It Off, same thing, where Offset is bringing you a little bit more interesting song structure, more immersive instrumentals, and is rapping arguably better than ever. I would say that. And it's very close to Father of Four, if not better. You had Gumbo by Young Nudy, which was very traditional by Young Nudy standards, but his best collection of bangers ever. Glaucoma 2 by Key Glock. You, of course, had whatever. I know he dropped in 2022. I forget the name of the album. It's escaping me. I apologize. But Glaucoma 2 is his biggest, most successful album yet. Let's look at that real quick, because Key Glock is someone who has always been he's always been like in that like kind of mainstream, but more so in the Rod Wave bag, where he was successful but didn't have like the biggest chart success. He just had, you know, his fans that were fucking with him, and that was propelling him to be more successful. So we're on the Key Glock wiki right now. It went 13 on the Billboard 200. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find the sale. God, I wish it was easier to find first week album sales. That's such a pain in the ass sometimes. Anyways, that album was very good. And this was straight traditional trap. But it was his most successful album yet, and the best I've heard from him. You also had West Side Gun drop And Then You Pray For Me, which was not a straight up and down trap album. It was not. But it incorporated the most trap aesthetics we've seen in the entirety of the Griselda Outfit's career. You know what I mean? If you wanted to tell me this was a trap album, I think it uses enough aesthetics that it really could be. Like, honestly. And again, this was one of Gun's more successful albums ever. It was big. I love this album too. I think it's super fucking amazing. I think it was way overhated for the incorporation of the trap instrumentals, of the trap aesthetics. I think that was I think it made it great, unique, original, and one of the most exciting albums in Gun's catalog so far. Quick water break for me. Oh man, also, this is a good time for me to remind you to hydrate yourself. Health is wealth, baby. Health is wealth. Make sure you're eating as healthy as possible and keeping yourself hydrated. And the last sleeper I wanted to include in here, which is an album that, again, in 2024, this album is extremely popular. Still putting up numbers, still on the Billboard 200. We're talking about A Great Chaos by Ken Carson, another album that I have a review for. And again, I also have one for Rocket Power, Set It Off, and Then You Pray For Me. I have multiple videos on And Then You Pray For Me, if you guys are at all interested in hearing me yap for longer about these quality albums. Excuse me. But yeah, so 2023 was a very solid year for trap, honestly. We saw a lot of artists come through and drop some of their best albums ever. Because same with Nudie on that, I forgot to mention, I do think that Gumbo is the best project that I've heard from him. And like I said, moving on to 2024, this year, would be dead if it wasn't for Pluto. 12 trap top 10 hits on Billboard, 3 number ones, and part of that is saved by a track like Carnival by EA. But yeah, you will see there is still a lot of quality here. There's a lot of quality trap music that came out this year, but it did not come from the mainstream. And in terms of sales so far, the highest selling album this year, period, not even Chromacopia, Days Before Rodeo being released 10 years later. This did 361,000. Travis Scott is a superstar. The fact that this, I think if Chromacopia had the extra counting days, it could have surpassed DBR, but it sold 300,000, I think, maybe 299,000. So it was close, but yeah, just a testament to Travis Scott's stardom. Because on the one hand, this is a trap album, but on the other hand, this has been a beloved mixtape for the last 10 years that finally got released on streaming. So it was my first time ever listening to it in full, but it's not quite new music. I don't know how to factor it into this conversation because it's kind of an outlier. Then we had Future's run. We Don't Trust You, 251,000. One of his best albums ever. Super cohesive. Bangers front to back. It had like that type shit. Multiple of the biggest hits of the year. Then you had We Still Don't Trust You, which sold 127.5 thousand, which was a lot more in the R&B aesthetics, a lot more singing from Future, but still had some great trap moments, and was a great album overall, to be honest. Then we also had mixtape Pluto. More recently, it came out 129,000. I have reviews for DBR, We Don't Trust You, and mixtape Pluto. If you guys are interested, again, it's a little self-plug. Mixtape Pluto was also good. Not great, but good, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then in terms of the mainstream trap, there's only one more good album I have to talk about. American Dream sold 133,000 by 21 Savage. This came out at the beginning of the year. Excuse me, I got the sniffles right now. Red Rum and Nina, two of the bigger hits of the year so far in the trap space. Sorry. That was gross. For my viewers who just saw me do that. All I did was open my mouth really wide. I apologize. Yeah, American Dream, though, I also thought this was a really great album. I think it's one of 21's best. I think it's cohesive. I think it's got replay value, front to back bangers. Review on that on the YouTube. Go check it out if you want to see me talk about it for a bit longer. Because I'm cutting this at 30. This is a short pod this week. But anyways, then we had, in terms of bad trap albums to come out this year. Now, let's talk about this for a second. Insano by Kid Cudi. No. All Is Yellow by Lyrical Lemonade. No. This is mainly in the trap space. A few tracks I revisit, not that good. One of Gunna's weakest albums. Definitely more successful, but it did not crack the top 10 selling albums this year, which actually really surprised me, in terms of first week sales, at least. But, there are some tracks on there that still get play. Oh, BOA, Better Off Alone by A Boogie. Not that good. In Sexy We Trust was a fall off from her Hood Hottest Princess project, which I also have a review for. Not In Sexy We Trust, the other one. 11th Dimension by Ski Mask was a big disappointment. Very much playing in the trap rage space, but was very much also not good. I haven't revisited since. Hood Poet by Polo G was an album that sounded like it should have been released 4 years ago. Did not like it. Very disappointing. Did not push the trap music forward at all, which is the same thing I could say about Before or Better Off Alone. Same thing I could say about One of One. And Just to Read Up 3 by YG. I had to put this on here, not because it's like a super trappy trap album, but just because I haven't really talked about this album, and it is like by far the worst album I've heard this year. I couldn't even finish it. I rarely turn an album off before it's done. You know what I mean? I always try to see it through, but I was just like, no, I'm not listening to this fucking shit anymore. I can't. Now, in terms of the good albums, we had Yeet drop 2093 and Lifestyle, which are not great. I would say they're both mid to good. I don't think they're like albums I revisit. I don't think they're like, oh, you got to listen to this. I think they're very forgettable. But I will say they were two of the more popular trap albums this week. They did not make that top 10, but they still sold well in the 50K to 70K range for both of them. And they pushed the sound of rap music as we know it further. They incorporated unique aesthetics, had concepts. And even though the rapping is shit because he's a bad rapper, you gotta respect the fact that he put some effort into making music listening experiences special. That's why I have them in the good section. We also had Chief Keef come through and drop Dirty Nachos and Almighty So Too. Both of these albums are pushing the trap soundscape as we know it further. You're seeing a lot of great soul sample usage on Almighty So Too. You're seeing great rage aesthetic, super fun features. If you haven't listened to Almighty So Too by Chief Keef, one of the most underrated albums this year, genuinely. I really fuck with this project. And Dirty Nachos is good as well. But very much, again, changing the sound of trap music as we know it. Glorious by Glorilla. I was hesitant to even put this in this section because there's a lot of soul aesthetics here. There's a lot of... It mostly plays in trap, but you get some boom bap on here too. And this is a great album. This is just a great album from Glorilla. I would heavily recommend you check it out. Excuse me. We also have Hardstone Psycho by Don Toliver. Have a review for this one, which again is very much playing between the rage and trap space. But you see Don Toliver bringing a lot of auto-tune singing to these rage beats that we haven't really seen the likes of before. It's super clean, super polished. I think it's a great album. And I think, again, it is pushing the sound of trap as we know it into new directions. So all of the successful albums we see this year, other than the Future run, and 21's album, are really pushing the sound of trap in different directions. And the same goes for King of the Mischievous South by Denzel Curry, which might be pushing the sound of trap in a different way, as it is a callback to late 90s and early 2000s horrorcore Memphis trap from the likes of Kingpin Skinny Pimp, from the likes of 3 6 Mafia, Project Pat, Soulja Slim. And that whole aesthetic, that whole scene, he is tapping into and giving his own rendition of. And it's fucking amazing. I have a review for this too, and I think it's great. I think the whole album is amazing. One of my favorites this year. And yeah, it plays in that trap space. It is front to back, up and down a trap album. There ain't a thing you could do about it. And yeah, a couple other albums that I think were pretty forgettable, but did play to this... did play just in the standard trap space that I thought were good, to say the least. Big Swerve by G Herbo was solid. The Kid That Did by Babyface Ray was a pretty run-of-the-mill Babyface Ray project. And Post Traumatic by T Grizzly. Also, so this was, again, a pretty big year for trap. Post Traumatic I thought was pretty great, to be honest, but I don't got the sales on them. And then you also have Personification by Maxo Cream and Slamir 2 by Young Nudie and Pierre Bourne, which I just simply have not listened to yet. I will soon, and I'm excited to. But I have not quite yet, personally. Okay, so we're at the, that's everything I got written down. So what can we tell and maybe predict from the future of trap? Because hip-hop as a whole is kind of taking a step back in the mainstream recently. Country and pop have been a lot more successful. When, again, for that's like 2016 to 2022, maybe stretch, easily the most dominant genre. And a lot of it was coming from the trap space. So what's going to happen next? For trap, at least, I think we'll continue to see trap not necessarily fade away entirely, but I think we're going to see more artists kind of pushing the boundaries as we have the rage scene on the come up still. And just, again, all these different maybe borrowing of trap aesthetics are, again, changing what trap is, coming from albums like Utopia, like Pink Tape, like Set It Off, and Then You Pray For Me, like Yeat's albums, like Almighty So Too, like Hardstone Psycho. I think we continue to see trap diversify. I think that means we also continue to see a kind of a decline in the popularity of trap music unless it's coming from the major hitters like Travis Scott, Future, Thug, 21, Cardi. And yeah, I think we also, coinciding with that, continue to see the reemergence of lyrical rap. the party dying, Kendrick destroying Drake in that beef, I think it's kind of been a reset. I think we've been in the process of a reset for a little bit where, like, in 2022, when we got so many of these disappointing albums from some of our favorite mainstream rappers like Lil Baby, I think it was kind of, like, that album flopped because it was just a repeat of My Turn, you know? So I think we're seeing a lot of people who are starting to become more interested in more quality music. And I think that quality is not just going to take form in, like, conceptual aesthetics, new production, and stuff like that. Like, again, we see the Yeet albums get popular for that reason. But I think we'll also see the Denzel Currys, Jids, Joey Badasses of the world, Vince Staples, I hope. Maybe not drop Billboard hits, right? Maybe not get to the top of the game and stuff like that. But I think we will see them continue to get more successful, because I think that's where the rap landscape is going. That shows in the success of Tyler, the Creator, this year, who has entirely pushed the boundaries of not trap music but hip-hop in Chromacopia, one of my favorite albums of the whole year. Same with Schoolboy Q, Doechii on Alligator Bites Never Heal, Vince Staples on Dark Times. All these albums have been super revered throughout the year. And I think they will continue to be, and I think we'll see maybe the mainstream audience continue to dilute and give more credence to albums like this. And I think it'll be very interesting to see, again, as we see the fall off of mainstream trap acts, as we have been seeing them continue, those fans got to go somewhere. And they're either going to the rage pulpit, or they're going to different genres, which is also possible. But if they're really about the rap, and that's like their favorite thing, they will revert to rap's roots, the lyricism, and they will be checking for artists like that. But only time will tell with this, obviously. This is just more of a think piece type thing. This is not even a video essay level thing. I kind of just put down some stats and talked about them. But to look forward to, I will be doing a very detailed piece on the rap hierarchy, which is I touched on here. I've touched on in other videos, like my what happened to the SoundCloud rappers video from a year or two ago. Also, one of my best videos ever. I would heavily recommend checking that out. I kind of do what I did here, and I pull out a rapper like Lil Baby or Dub Baby, just rappers who were very popular from 2016 to 2020, and was like, they were super successful here. Where are they now? And yeah, like I said, time will tell with this, but that video will kind of be me breaking down. I think there's only like 10 superstars in rap, and I'll be breaking down the kind of 3 tiers of rap popularity and talking about why it's like that, which again is because there's so many rappers that are popular that has diluted the ability for rappers to become popular. But yeah, that's all I got going on for you guys today. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy a lot. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate all the engagement you guys have been giving me. And I hope you all are doing very, very well. Thanksgiving is coming up next week. There's so much to be thankful for in life. Just look around. Just take it in for a second. Just think about everything you got going for you in your life. Because I know personally, I have blessings on blessings on blessings. And so much to make me happy every day. And I hope you guys can look around and say the same. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I've been saying, go check out the other content. But yep, doses.